Hey, welcome everybody to another rendition of the Lone Wolf Show. And today we are going to visit a situation, a topic that I gave my New Year's, what is it called? Like a resolution? New Year's resolution? What was your New Year's resolution? Our guest, Lady Crow Moon, in the building, founder of the Crow, Glenn
Glenn.
Pagan Services, an advocate for pagan prisoners. Hence the show tonight, all about the pagan prisoner. I know all about it. What was your New Year's resolution,
I
lady?
have none. I'm too old to do that anymore.
Okay, so you didn't have. What about you, Patricia? Did you have one New Year's resolution?
Yes, to pay attention more to the animals and the trees and everything around me, what it's trying to tell me.
Okay.
And mine was to work more extensively with pagans that are incarcerated.
Yes.
And that was mine. And part of that has a lot to do with our current guest, Lady Crow Moon. How long have you been corresponding with prisoners or inmates that are a bit pagan?
A bit pagan. Since I think 2011 was when I first started this.
Cool.
Yeah.
How did it start? How did it start off? How did you get involved in that? Did a
Well,
relative? Did somebody you know go to jail? It was just
well, as far as I knew, my whole life, I'd never met anybody who'd even been arrested. But when I got in, started going around this upstate South Carolina community, there were some people who I found out who had been in prison, not just jail, prison, and I adored them. And then I met a lady who'd been in prison in South Carolina, and she told me how much they needed some kind of support for pagans, incarcerated pagans, and this is how it got started.
so you write incarcerated pagans in the Carolinas.
All over, I'm in touch with chaplains and inmates in 37 states now.
Chaplains and inmates, and you get a hold of the chaplains. Is there a reason why you correspond with the chaplains too?
Because I can't afford to mail my newsletters. I send out Sabbath newsletters for every Sabbath, and I can't afford to mail them. So I have to email them to chaplains and let them distribute them. Now, if an inmate writes to me, actually, it's just me, writes to me, then if they want research or something, I do what I can. I have some articles that I send to a lot of them from one from Damien Eccles, if you've heard of him. Have you ever not heard of him? Oh, okay. Uh, uh, Information on working with energy and meditation exercise. I also have a condensed version of my Wicca Basics book for inmates, and I will send them that. I can only send 5 pages per letter, so I had to condense it down.
So you've published a book targeted for the pagan, the prison population.
It's I call it the Crow Glen tradition because it's just my tradition and what I think about things, and I tell them in the book that this is not the only way, but it might be a good start for them. Um, I do believe that if people want to study Wicca, give them some basics. And what I love about Wicca is it gives me the freedom for me to research and make my own opinions about how things are working. And I would like them to have that kind of freedom too.
What do pagan prisoners typically write to you in their introductory letter?
Usually they say my chaplain's not helping me. I don't have anything. I don't have books. Can I have books? Can I have research? I cannot send them books very often. I do have DVDs that I made that is kind of like my Wicca 101 on DVD. And I give them what I can. I contact their chaplain. Sometimes it's really hard. They don't answer my messages, but
Right.
I do have some chaplains who contact me now. They say they want something for their pagan inmates.
Mhm.
So,
You said you have DVDs. Is this something you created, or is it
oh
just
yeah, yeah. Everything I've created everything except the two of the articles that I send out, one by Damien Eccles, who was Tennessee. I think he was incarcerated for murder and was in jail for prison for 9 years. And then they found out he was innocent and he was let go. But he says magic. To me, it's meditation to survive what he went through. So I'm a big proponent of meditation in prisons.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a good time, good place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. And those cells are just like caves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cells are just like caves. A lot of change and a lot of inner work can be done in those places, believe it or not.
Yes, I do, because one of the gentlemen that I told you about that is in my community said that he was in lockup for 63 days, and he spent that time just reassessing his entire life. And he's a magnificent person. I love him dearly. So yeah.
How did you get such a good a broad outreach with 37 different states? Was there an advertisement thing going on, or was it word of mouth, or was it just this guy tells that guy?
I was only doing South Carolina, SCDC, and I met a lady who has had information that she sent all over the country. I think she got me in touch with 25 different states. And since then, I've grown either through inmates finding out about me or chaplains finding out about me. Or Crow Glen, I should say.
I'm an ex-prisoner myself. That's part of my story. And I really enjoy the fact that you're out here doing that work. There's not a lot of pagans in modern time, I think, putting too much focus on pagan prisoners. Yep. I think that as from being around, as a free man, in our craft communities, pagan communities, mm-hmm. I see a lot more consumerist values going on than there is actual work and spiritualism to try to help the broken and heal the damaged.
Yes.
And there's only a few pagan leaders that I can remember off the top of my head that work with work with prisoners. What pagans in modern time do you know of, or organizations do you know of that work with prisoners besides yourself?
Selena Fox has a group that they do work with pagan inmates. Maca Nightmare, okay. Also in California.
Right. Is Selena's outreach specifically for Wisconsin, or do you know?
No, they're actually, I think the group is that is doing it. I think is in like the New York area. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I'm also Maca Nightmare has started up a group that we're trying to get off the ground. It's called Hematite. And there are several well-known pagans, Druids and Wiccans, I think some heathens, that we're trying to get information, references of information for inmates. We're still working on it. It's a huge project, but we're still working on it. I think right. I wish I could remember the names. There's some well-known Druids, but I have a bad memory.
It certainly doesn't surprise me that Selena's works with prisoners. When right. they had her Circle Sanctuary News, there was a catalog for accessible books, like a lot of the Scott Cunningham Solitary Practitioner and right. stuff like that, and it was always pretty easily, and I think it was actually a discount for prisoners. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It's actually, that book is Enchanted Encumbered, one of the books. There are 2 books that I know of, and of course I don't have the information here. 2 books that I know of that are written specifically for inmates, and I'm going to try to find it right now if I can.
Have you
Um,
helped prisoners obtain books on the craft?
uh, I have either. I very rarely have a book that I can donate of
Hmm.
one of my books. I did at our Carolina Pagan Fest last year. I did get some books to donate, and I sent them to one group of inmates that the chaplain was asking for books. But not all the books I get donated are, I think, good for inmates. So I only
Right.
send the ones that I think will work them. I'm not going to send any Aleister Crowley stuff. Just
Right.
my opinion. um,
Sure. Well, when it comes to institutions that are accepting the books, the biggest hurdle that pagans or Wiccans from the outside sending it to into the inside is security risks, and they're always
yes,
going to say it's a security risk. We
yes,
all know and love Big Blue, which is Raymond Buckland's Big Blue book there,
yes. Oh, you can't.
and
It has
and
nudity in it.
it has it
Yeah.
has small increments of nudity. It also has some homebrew that you can make some dandelion wine from with recipes within the book, and it's it exactly shush. Although these books are in circulation in the penal institutions in America, some institutions will flag it because of those reasons, and someone that's been in the system since late 90s and breaking the change of recidivism.
Mhm.
uh, I've seen these books come in and out, and the different disgruntlements or arguments with the administration. And let's face it, early 90s, 2000, they're looking for any reason to disavow the books, to push back the books, looking for any reason.
Yes, that's why I need to create some kind of relationship with the chaplain,
Mhm. Right.
because they will allow things in. They will allow me to send things to the chaplain, and then I put attention and then the inmate's name and number on the outside so they'll know who it goes to.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely, I get it.
right.
And if we look at some of the Judaic literature, like some photography of Adam and Eve with their nakedness there, and then you implement a tarot card, there's different tarot cards with nudity in it. I've seen tarot cards pushed back because of nudity. Now, what's the difference? Now, and that's when it gets into like, civil rights. I mean, equal rights. You can do for this tradition of religious tradition, you should be able to do for this religious tradition,
True.
equal rights.
That doesn't exist. It
Yeah, and
rarely.
it doesn't seem like that. And I think that the Inquisition, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist or nothing like that, but the Inquisition, the burning times, the discrimination still goes on in our penal institutions. That is still the shitholes of the society, and this is where the discrimination towards the men, towards the women, towards the folks that no gender folks, to be respectful.
Now, I'm going to say I do have some chaplains that are very respectful and want everything that I can help the inmates with, but we still do have chaplains that don't care and don't support them at all.
Mhm.
And that's where I
That's
come
sad.
in with my charm and try to get them to allow things in.
Have you
Um,
ever physically went inside of a prison
mhm.
and to facilitate a group study or a ritual?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's really fascinating. Did you have a lot of bull crap getting in? Did they give you a hard time? Was it an easy
They were only
situation?
the chaplains who trusted me.
Right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And I don't visit any. I only visit two prisons now, and one's not a prison. One is a mental health facility for sexual offenders in
Mhm.
Columbia, South Carolina. Um, so I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, I only do that with chaplains who trust me, and that's why I need to create a relationship with the chaplains.
Right. What do you think the most hardship you have as far as states goes when you're working with inmates, prisoners? What states seem to be the hardest to work with?
Uh, right now, believe it or not, it's New Jersey. I'm trying to get into New Jersey.
And what
Um,
underlying factors have making New Jersey
they just
difficult?
ignore me.
You're
They just
ignoring.
ignore me. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We've had problems with Arizona in the past, but I'm now in Arizona, and the chaplain there is asking me to send information to all the chaplains in Arizona. So that's fantastic. Once uh, my documents that I create have a first say, this, we're not here to do witchy woo magic. We're here to grow spiritually, because for me, that's the most important aspect of Wicca for me, and that's what I hope to help the inmates do. So it's about spirituality, understanding. I always have a little blurb in there about the pinnacle, and show the pinnacle in churches and off of side of airplanes and police officers, and explain what it is. So I explain enough to where I think they trust that I'm not there trying to make them do spell work on everybody and mesmerize everybody into some zombie-like existence. I don't know. I don't know what they think witches do, but it's not that.
The earliest correspondence that I can remember as a prisoner myself was taking correspondence courses from Gavin and Yvonne Frost from the Church and School of Wicca.
Yeah.
And that was the first correspondence that I had. And it was like $100 a course. That was the first that I can remember.
Long time ago.
Right. I think that the Frosts very well could have been one of the first folks to reach out to incarcerated pagans. I want to say one of the, because I don't know for sure, but I know from experience that was one of the first that I saw. Another group that worked with prisoners, from my experience, was the Millennial Kingdom out of Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Are they still around?
And they are unfortunately not. And that was run by.
Happens. That's what
right.
happens.
Louise Ain Salin ran that. And then you also had Paul Barrow, who just passed over to the Summerlands, and he is a Lothlorien, and he did correspondence course with prisoners. And I was involved with that program. Let's see. You mentioned Selena Fox.
And also Cherry Hill Seminary, if you heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah. They had some rituals written up before anybody was accepting pagan. I'm rewriting those, and they're going to be delivered through hematite. So that's
really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I also know that there's another pagan leader in our community that worked with inmates in California, and I believed and came up with some kind of booklet. It was published by Patrick McCollum, and he came up with a booklet, and Raymond Buckland endorsed it in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Now,
I know Patrick was pretty involved in California. I don't think he is right now.
Right. Yeah.
He's doing a lot of other things. I've not heard of that booklet. I wouldn't mind getting a hold of it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff like that. Yeah. But to evaluate what's really available now, I think it's important, because as I age and as I trek a path similar to that of an incarcerated man, and I'm very public with my story of reaching your highest ideals, tapping into that magic from Doreen Valiente, and for me, 2024 is that year to try to. I'm not sure where I want to go with this, but I just want to say that Witchcraft TV, www.witchcrafttv.online, wants to work with pagan prisoners. In what capacity, I don't know. Maybe we could facilitate letter writing where we read the letter over on our station. I'm not sure. Or,
I'm going to talk to you about that because some prisons allow, like my DVDs are played on some kind of television or whatever they have,
right.
but not everyone does. A lot of inmates have the little, not an iPad, but a little,
Right.
yeah, and can download books and things like that. So there's some things that are opening up. I'd like to talk to you further about that to see.
Sure. It would be great to get them to get a visitation online and just kind of see if we can't record it. But I think there might be a lot of fine tape with that.
Yeah, I know that Appalachian Prison Ministry, they're up in Ohio, they're able to have Zoom classes with inmates, but I don't see that very often. I have talked to some chaplains about it, but after COVID, during COVID, a lot of chaplains just left. South Carolina doesn't even have a chief chaplain anymore. They have no leadership, and some chaplains are having to take care of 2 prisons at once. That's, it's just not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. It's not easy working with inmates. It isn't.
Right. Do you ever get the feeling that an inmate just is writing letters, with ulterior motives and just?
Oh yeah, I've had some. Very excited about meeting a high priestess.
Right. Yeah. Extra excited.
Yeah, they're extra excited.
Yeah.
So the chaplain and the warden get copies of those letters. There was one person I wasn't sure of. He felt sketchy, but I checked in with his chaplain and he was okay. But yeah, actually, the inmates that I typically work with are very honest and truthful about what they want. They want to grow spiritually, and so I don't have the bad inmates, especially when I go visit. I feel as safe in the chapel or even in the yard because the inmates that I work with are most of them are extraordinary. I really like that they're trying their best to improve who they are. Even one who's in for life, he's doing everything he can to become a better person, even though he's never going to get out of prison. And I admire that. I admire anybody who finds out that what's not working for them, and they have the courage and the persistence to change it. And that's what I find in a lot of inmates. And yes, some are just there to play around or whatever, but I have when I visit, I have the authority to throw them out of the class. So if they're not doing their work, if they're just playing around, then I'll talk to the chaplain because I don't want to waste my time. I've got all these inmates who are really trying, and I'm not going to waste my time on somebody who's just playing around.
So these are in-person classes?
Yes, I used to do more. I used to go to 7 South Carolina prisons a month. I've had back surgery, so now I've cut that down to just 2. And I do enjoy teaching in public. I do enjoy talking to the men. I used to go to women's prisons, but I'm just not doing women's prisons anymore. Not sure why, but I can't visit as many as I used to.
Mm-hmm. So when you go inside of the prisons, are you casting actual working spaces in there?
Oh yeah, we do a meditation before we start. Is that what you're asking me? To bring in deity energy into the space? Is that what you're talking about?
Are you casting circles in these institutions?
No, not casting circles. Only if we're doing ritual, I don't cast circles, but I do a meditation to bring in energy, positive energy. Yeah.
So it's more so like a study group and focusing on different individual deities that they embrace.
Well, we talk about their deities, and not everybody's Wiccan. We have Druids. We have
right.
Asatru. I even worked with an Odinist once. um, and talk about their needs. I'll teach a class, but where I'm going now, the guys have been studying for so long. I can't really teach them. We just talk about what's going on with them spiritually.
Right. So you're corresponding with prisoners that are really adept to paganism.
No, these are visitations.
Okay.
I get so many I sometimes I just get a little note saying I need some information about Wicca. I mean, it'll be a torn piece of paper, and I send them everything I can.
Mm-hmm.
So
an inmate is in correspondence with you, and they have a 1 to 3 years to do a small bid, but they're fascinated with Wicca. They want to go out and they want to pursue the priesthood of Wicca.
mm-hmm.
What do you tell them?
I tell them that when they get out, they really need to be honest about where they've been, because there are going to be people in the community who are not going to trust them, especially if they're a sex offender.
Yeah.
No, they really are going to have a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll need to find somebody to teach them. It's hard for inmates. It's hard, but if they want to do it, I just tell them to find people to help you and to teach you and research and learn as much as you can. And you're in this day and age, I think initiations aren't as prevalent. Do you agree with that? I don't see them as often. So if you're going to be an elder or a priest, you have to have other people recognize your wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's precisely what initiation is acceptance from the tribe. So if it's acceptance from the larger community, I mean, what else you want? So,
right,
so
exactly.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I also agree with you 100% that if these prisoners, all are in prison for specific reasons, and if those reasons happen to be sex offenses, I will say honestly, and from the countless pagan festivals and communities that I've been to, not a good shot. It's just not going to work out. And maybe that needs to be worked on. And there's nobody really skilled, ready to deal with those kind of people. But I know that they're just not going to happen, because let's face it, at pagan gatherings, children walk around freely and everybody's parent there.
Right. That's very hard for sex offenders. And I really haven't worked that one out. There are some sex offenders that I appreciate because they're really trying to improve, but also working specifically with the sex offenders at where I go. They say if I get out, I will reoffend, and they know it. There's no cure for sex offenders. It's like an alcoholic. You will always be an alcoholic. You're just not drinking. You will always be a sex offender. You're just not offending. Mm-hmm. That's how I put it. Everybody has their own opinion about that, but I'd like to give them a chance, but who's going to give them the chance out in the public?
Mm-hmm. Right. Lots.
When I told somebody that one of my favorite inmates is a sex offender, I could see the anger in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So
you just said that who's going to give them a chance.
Yep.
And I think it's important to think about, well, they need to give themselves a chance, because it's really ultimately up to them.
That's true.
Because they're the only ones that's going to unlock those doors to begin with. And then it just takes that person to see that can give them a little boost up, I guess.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a very hard one.
Right. And working with, prisoners, they put, let's face it, they put the undesirables, in those tanks, in those cans, in those big, massive, penitentiaries that they're building,
Undesirables, but why are they undesirable? I had one inmate tell me, he said he got more scars from his mother than he ever got in a fight in prison. Mm-hmm. These people are broken. Now, right. I will admit that, serial killers and ones like that, I don't have to deal with them. but these guys are broken. So you go into a prison and you treat them with respect. Now I don't know which ones are telling me the truth and not, and they could be lying to me. I don't know, but I'm going to give them a chance. I treat them with respect. They, in return, respect me very much and are very grateful for what I can do. And there's nothing more wonderful than having people thanking you for the work that you put in.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I can vouch for prisoners is that when men and women are in jail or non-binary, to be respectful, are incarcerated, um, there's not much going on in the world, and spirituality becomes heightened. You have a lot of people that are incarcerated that flock right to Christianity, and all of a sudden they're Bible thumping wacko, you know. Or you might have people that fall into Buddhism or Islam, and it's just whatever the appetite is for spirituality.
mhm.
And when someone is incarcerated and they are intrigued by our earth-based spirituality, that's no exception. It's the same thing.
Mhm, mhm.
So there's always the big talk while you're incarcerated. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When they get out, when I get out, and the recidivism rates is just so high.
Yes.
And you seldom hear a success story about a pagan getting out of the penitentiaries and not falling back into the recidivism and in that stuff. And although you said some of these men are broken,
Mhm.
and I think the underlying factors of addiction plays in probably 70%.
Yes.
I don't know exactly, but it's high.
Mhm, mhm,
It's high. So
mhm.
it's just like so many different things to try. Like, I guess the different prisoners have different levels of understanding of spirituality.
Yes, and I can understand why they run to a religion, because what else do they have? Now, some places have the dog training, and some places, like in South Carolina, they have they work in industry, like
Mhm.
working with wood or whatever, and some places have craft, but not all. And yes, I think, and as in the religion, you're accepted, and you've got a group of people around you who support you. So I can understand why they do that.
Do you offer any support to the prisoners you work with when they're released?
I say yes when if I trust them. I
Hmm.
tell them that they can contact me through my website, email me, let me know. They can contact me through Facebook. I'm actually still, um, I'm still Facebook friends with one of the inmates I worked with at the first prison I worked at, which was back 2013, I think.
Hmm.
So,
You
yeah.
mentioned a website. What's the website? What's the name?
It's Crow Glen Pagan Services, and Glen is spelled. The goddess gave me Glen spelled this way, and I just found out that recently that it was Scottish. Gleann, and it's Crow Glen Pagan Services. I
Mhm.
used to do hospice work and the prison work, but not enough pagans are dying, so I just do the prison work. That was supposed to be a joke.
Mhm. Yeah, give it 50 years. I think there's a big influx.
Yeah, I'm getting up in my years too, so yeah, a lot of my friends are.
What about your spirituality? When did you first come to the craft?
Oh, let's see. Oh gosh. I I think it was the early 2000s, because I got my third in 2007. So, yeah, early 2000s, or maybe late 1990s. I can't really remember, um, because I kind of slid into it as with a women's group who worked with Goddess, and I just kind of slid into it, and Goddess introduced me to her, and then I kept going more and more into the Wiccan. First, starting off with just Dianic, And then when I got my third, she said, I won't give you your third unless you bring the God in. So I did.
So third degree in a Dianic tradition.
No, actually, it was a third degree. She had, I think her third degree was given to her by Lord Serpent, if you've ever heard of him.
Okay, Serpent Stone.
Yes, Serpent Stone.
Okay, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm familiar. So that's cool. So you're coming from the Serpent Stone line, and you do outreach for prisoners. I think that is badass, and you are a magnificent woman. I really appreciate it. I wish I would have found you in 2000 when I was serving time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wasn't doing it then, but I would have been glad to help you.
Yeah.
But I really do want to talk to you later about ways that you can help the prison population in the United
Absolutely.
States. Okay.
I always used to like pen pals, just somebody to write to.
Right. That's hard to find. I had a guy in North Carolina ask me some information, and he was going to be a pen pal, and it didn't last 2 months. It's it's uh, it's hard to be a pen pal. That's why I don't do pen pal. I have a few inmates who I I get online. They can do messages to me, and but not very many. I just don't have the time to do it for everybody.
Right.
So,
I always used to like taking correspondence courses when I was incarcerated because I felt like I was in like witch school.
yeah, and I think, let's see, I'm not sure. I know that you can get online courses.
Oh, there's tons of them for free online. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think they're free, are they? I know
Well,
that,
there's online courses you can take for free. Absolutely. I
but
mean,
they can't get
they're not
online.
accessible to all prisoners, though.
Yeah, they can't get online. So that's one of
Yeah,
the issues.
that would have to be like a carbon, manuscript of a correspondence course. But definitely something to look into.
Right.
2024 is the year for my personal agenda
All right.
to help in some capacity or another the pagan prisoner. I am 3 years on state parole, and I am owner of Witchcraft TV and award-winning pagan musician.
Hot
And
damn.
I'm ready to go.
All right, honey.
Right, Trisha.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna reach out to some pagan prisoners, and I think the people who are already in the field, in the paint, working with them, those are the people that I want to network with.
Okay. I can hook you up.
Yeah, that sounds great. I know that there's a few others in the community that are interested too. And I don't really want it to take a slant of, particular traditions, trying to, scope out, pagan prisoner talent and stuff like that, because I'm sure that stuff goes on because there is vetting and everybody wants workers and stuff like that. But for the pure spiritual aspects of helping somebody conquer recidivism,
Yes.
when it comes to earth-based spirituality and using earth-based spirituality as a crutch to conquer that recidivism, that's where I'm at. It's not for the money. It's not for the workers. It's for giving back to something that gave to us.
Yes. Yes.
So that would be great. So what's your website one more time?
Just look for Crow Glenn, GLEANN, Pagan Services.
And it talks about your prisoner outreach on the site.
It just a little bit. It talks about what I do, but then you can contact me and I can help you with whatever you need. If I can help you, I can't always help everybody.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was scoping around YouTube for pagan prisoner outreach. Do you have YouTube videos about it on YouTube?
No, I just have my DVDs because I did, like I said, I'm usually in the background. The DVDs were a big deal because inmates can't always get anything that's online. So
Right.
I knew that if they have the technology to at least put in a DVD, then that's what I wanted them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't want to. I don't want to be a media star.
Right. Right. Well, I definitely do. I'm a pagan musician. I want all the attention I can get. But for this hour, it's not about me. It's all about your work
Pris- the
in the
prison,
pagan
yeah, and the
community.
inmates, helping the inmates.
And that's what looks like we're about to do, right, Patricia?
Sure.
2024, we're going to reach out to pagan prisoners.
Uh,
I know firsthand where that came from and what kind of path I had to go down to conquer that recidivism forever. And we're going to give back. Thank you
You're welcome.
for giving back wholeheartedly. And I hope to have you back on the Lone Wolf Show.
Anytime. Thank you very much for having me.